Hi, I want to take a moment to show you what a typical day might look like when you come into your Forethought lesson planner to get your plans loaded into the system. So the first thing I'll do is click on my calendar for the date I'd like to plan, and then I'll start with whichever entry in my schedule I want to begin planning first. And I want to click in this box one time. You'll notice your little icons will pop up. That's your first clue that you've actually clicked in the box. And then it'll take it a couple of seconds for your curriculum to load over here on the right hand side. It's always going to open up where I left off the last time I was in this entry. So that's really helpful. I'm already in my first 6 weeks unit. And my first goal is to really figure out what do I want my students to know and be able to do as a result of this lesson. So I'm going to go ahead with this readiness standard here in my first unit. It's to analyze textual context within a sentence and in larger sections of text to distinguish between the denotative and connotative meanings of words. Now I can click on this standard and the box down below will populate with some information to help me. Most of us will have a standard clarification available in our courses that I can open up. I want to double click to open that resource. And now I can really wrap my mind around the true intent of this standard. What should students really be doing? What is the rigor involved with this standard? What did the state mean when they selected these verbs? What content will my students be engaging with? What context will they be looking at the vocabulary in this standard? And how will they show me that they've been able to master this standard? What might an assessment item look like? I really want to know what my kids will need to know and be able to do and how they will need to show me so that I can make good choices as I design my lesson. Let me move this down for you so you can see it better. I can click this Use in My Plans button so that my standard clarification is right here for me to just keep on my mind throughout my instructional day. If there's any other resources that the curriculum writers have provided for me, I can interact with them in the same way I did my standard clarification. Now I'm ready to look at the process skills that my students might need to engage in order to analyze the textual context of these words. So I come up to my process skills and think, they really will have to use some comprehension skills and reflect on their own understanding in order to make such a higher level distinction between these two meanings of words. So now I really know what my focus, what my goals are in this lesson. I'm ready to click in this bottom area of my box to open up my strategies and structures, assessment and resources list here. Now remember, I want to make the most of this checklist so that I can pull data from it and learn and notice patterns about my own instructional practices throughout the year. So as many of these things that I'm using in this lesson, I want to go ahead and check them. If I don't happen to be using these strategies today, I don't have to check something. But I really think that using Graphic Organizer is going to be the best tool to help my kids work through their learning as they attempt to really analyze how words can have two different meanings. I think it would be really helpful for my students to start off in pairs so they can help each other as they begin to work through this difficult skill. And I think it would really be helpful to, after they work in pairs, bring that back to the whole group so that all of the partners can hear from the other groups on the thinking that they had throughout that lesson. And then finally, I want to end with an independent moment for my students to be able to apply their learning on their own. And they're going to do this through a performance task where they really do work to show me their analysis of vocabulary words. We'll be using a district required resource, the vocabulary books that we have. Now I'm ready to really come in here and type up my procedures in the way that best fit my planning style. Some of us like to account for our warm-up and anticipatory sets, guided practice, and we get really specific about our procedures. Some of us, our brains think more in a bulleted list. I can come up here to my toolbar and get my bullets going and just start capturing the steps of my instructional time with the kids. I want to anticipate what accommodations I might need to make. Where might my kids really struggle with this lesson? What could I do to help them be more successful? modifications or extensions might I need to account for so that every student in my class has a better chance of mastering this standard today. I can give myself any notes I might need to make to help me through my day. And then once the day is over, if I just come in here and type up a few quick reflections, I can continue to grow as I address this student expectation again, or as I come back to this lesson next year, because these lessons will be stored in Forethought forever for me to come back to. Once I have identified what my students need to know and be able to do, how they will be assessed, how they'll show their evidence of their learning, I've really tried to work to think about what strategies will help them with this particular standard and the rigor that it requires. What structures can I use to really help my students move through this learning so that they can demonstrate the evidence of their learning? And what types of resource will I be using? At this point, I have planned my lesson using the Forethought system. I can move on to the next entry in my schedule if I need to plan something more. Now, when I come to my calendar day, this lesson will always be here for me. So this is just the typical way we'll use Forethought as we put our lesson plans into the system. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm always happy to help you. My name is Kristen Cavanis. Thank you very much.